to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The prayer this afternoon will be offered by the good delegate from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In synagogues all around the world today, we are celebrating Purim. And in this Women's History Month, if you want to learn about a woman hero, you need not look much further than the book of Esther. The Jewish holiday of Purim celebrates an event that occurred almost 2,500 years ago in Persia, modern-day Iran. The story is told of the book of Esther, also known as the Megillah. The Megillah tells of a story of a king, his name was Ahasuerus, who listened to some bad advice from his chief of staff, a man named Haman. Haman advised the king to commit genocide on the Jewish people, simply because they were different. Fortunately for us, there was also a Jewish lobbyist named Mordecai who lobbied the king's wife to ignore Haman's advice. The king's wife, whose name was Esther, and she was Jewish herself, also obviously had an invested interest in the outcome. Long story short, the king listened to his wife, a good man, and evil Haman was given an unfavorable report. Thank God, not the Jews. We all know that in every age there are dictators and tyrants who use their power against the innocent simply because they fear people who are different. From Syria to Ukraine to many other places, we have seen that good people will always face the challenge of confronting evil. By the way, legend has it that Haman wore a three-sided hat, and that's why you all got on your desks today some Hamantaschen, so I hope you enjoyed them. And let us pray. We cannot merely pray to you, God, to end war, for you have already given us the tools to find a path of peace within ourselves and within our neighbors, if we could only use them thoughtfully. Therefore, instead, we pray to you, God, for the strength and determination to be thoughtful, wise, insightful, just, and constructive. And in doing so, we will be on our way to making our little corner of the world the best place it can be. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 120 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, March the 9th, 2022.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Moves to much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. Message from the Senate, consent calendar number 27. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the first bill and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 496, Senator Bidle, Economic Matters.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of Senate Bill 496 be considered the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committee. Report of the Committee on Appropriations, report number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 424, Constitutional Officers' Salaries, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 1091, State Retirement and Pension System, Investment Division, Compensation, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1254, Maryland State Board of Contract Appeals, Positions, Law Clerks, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1400, Morgan State University, increasing bond principal amount. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1451, Housing and Community Development, Business Projects and the Business Development Program, financial assistance. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Economic Matters, report number 18. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 88, Public Utilities, Energy Distribution Planning, and Required Labor Standards. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 removes a proposed permanent working group from the bill, alters language on specific policy goals for electric distribution system planning, strengthens language on seeking federal funding for distribution system projects, applies labor provisions only to federally funded projects, and makes technical changes. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read for next bill.
House Bill 145, State Finance and Procurement, Prevailing Wage, Stop Work Orders. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment 2 removes references to the Appeals Board and authorizes the Commissioner to hear the appeals. Amendment number 3 adds requirements related to the notification and a required meeting between the Commissioner and the contractor after a stop work order has been issued. Prohibits the prime contractor from terminating the subcontractor until after a certain period of time has passed or if the violation is resolved, and adds a process for when the Commissioner decides not to issue a stop work order for a violation. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 259, Commercial Law, Consumer Protection, Biometric Identifiers, Privacy. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Number 1, the amendment is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes and adds certain definition. Amendment number 3 alters a time period that a private entity must permanently destroy biometric data from 1 year of the last interaction to 3 years, and provides an exception to certain requirements relating to the retention and destruction of the policy. Number 4 strikes certain language prohibiting a private entity from otherwise profiting from biometric data, alters the various situations when private entity does not have to obtain certain types of consent before collecting, using, or disseminating, provides that a private entity may not be required to provide an individual with certain information more than twice in a 12-month period. Please move the amendments.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Recognizing the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Brief question for the floor leader. Can you summarize what this does, please?
What this bill does is it protects our biometric data now, so fingerprints, facial ID recognition like that. From this point on, we'd like to know when our data is being collected and to make sure it's not being sold for profit or disseminated without our permission. So what this does is it forces individuals to put us on notice when they are collecting our biometric data and it precludes them from selling it or disseminate to other individuals without our permission.
I really like the sound of that. I would love to take a look at a reprint of this. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Would it be okay if I special ordered this until the appropriate time in the next session?
Not a problem.
Thank you so much.
Question for the House is a special order of HB 259 to the appropriate time next session. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 496, Labor and Employment, Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program Establishment. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Number 1, the First Amendment is technical and adds co-sponsors and conforms to the purpose paragraph. Amendment number 2 strikes the bill and creates a commission and authorizing funds for the commission to study the implementation of Family Medical Leave Assurance Program. Please move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My friend, the chairman of the committee, does the bill as currently construed have any fiscal considerations or fiscal note? I mean, is there anything that's committed by this General Assembly in terms of a financing of this program?
Yes, we're asking $25 million to be set aside for the implementation of the program.
So that $25 million would be set aside in this year's fiscal year budget, the one that is presumably we'll all vote on soon, or is that a mandate for a future year budget?
This year.
This year, $25 million? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 563, Insurance Surplus Lines, Brokers, Policy Fees. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 provides a cap of $250 on personal line policies and up to $500 or 7% of the policy premium, whichever is greater on commercial lines. It also authorizes fees on certain larger commercial policy holders. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 568, Real Estate Associate Brokers and Salespersons Compensation Payment from Title Insurance Producer. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 667, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Class B Beer, Wine, and Liquor Licenses, Restaurants. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
As amended, House Bill 667 repeals the requirement that a restaurant applying for a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license in Harford County must have been in full-time operation for at least 6 months immediately prior to filing the application. Amendment number 1 is technical and amends the sponsorship of the bill. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 866, Commercial Law, Consumer Protection, Genetic Information Privacy. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered a reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters the definition of direct-to-consumer genetic testing company and genetic data. It strikes institution of higher learning from the list of organizations the bill does not apply to, and it adds an entity offering disability insurance to the list of entities that may not disclose a consumer's genetic data without the consumer's written consent. And amendment number 3 alters the type of service user consent is required for a direct consumer or publicly available open data personal genomics databases used to conduct the DNA analysis. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. The gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Real quick question for the floor leader.
Floor leader.
Yes.
Hello, delegate.
Hello?
Does this bill cover the recent COVID testing databases?
It does not. It's very narrowly tailored to those consumers who are willingly turning over their most private information, which is DNA information, for genetic testing only.
So it wouldn't include other forms of testing that employers or that the government may require of individuals in order to have a job, for instance?
No, it does not. Those are covered elsewhere, but not in this bill.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 994, Public Utilities Underground Facilities One Call System. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the floor leader.
I move so much to be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 moves up the effective date to June 1, 2022, and makes technical changes. Move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 998, Human Services Silver Energy Savers Program and Energy Assistance Fund. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 replaces references to the third-party supplier in the bill with 2-11 Maryland and extends required funding. Move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Recognizing the gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the floor leader rise for a few questions, please?
Standing. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, of course, we all think it's a great idea to help, I guess, silver energy savers means older people.
Yes.
Some of us aren't silver, but we're 60 or over. That it looks like it's targeted at 60 or over.
That is correct.
Okay. But I'm reading in the fiscal note, so I don't know what the amendments did, that it's going to create 24 positions to help create this program. Why do we need 24 positions?
Well, that's what OHELP said, the number of people that they're going to be needing just to manage it, to go out and solicit and get help. It's going to be offered in 4 different areas: Southern Maryland, Eastern Maryland, and the northern part of the state. And
so we're going to.
Oh, the amendment cuts that out. Yeah.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Because
Yes.
the fiscal note says we're going to spend $1.2 million a year to help some older people with their energy bills. That doesn't seem like a conservative way to
Madam Speaker, will the
approach this.
floor leader please yield?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's only
Vice
4.
Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, there's only 4 positions. 211 is predominantly already doing it, but there's only 4 positions. It's regionally located, and so the fiscal note is slightly off in saying that we need 24 positions. That's not the case. So it's slightly less than $200,000.
Well, 4 is a lot less than 24. So
It is.
how,
It's
I mean,
1/6.
I'd say it's a lot less. So how much are we going to spend a year for a program to help
200,000.
And then how much money are we going to help them with? I hope we're giving away more money than we're spending to set the program up.
That would be true, and the total cost for the positions is slightly less than 200,000.
So $200,000 in the cost of the program, that's all it's going to be?
Correct. To establish this, yes, that's it.
And then every year, $200,000
Yes, for the 4 positions to
for
continually
4 positions?
exist. Yes.
Yeah, you think you can get 4 positions for $50,000 a year with their benefits? You're not
Yes.
going to pay them much. Okay, so, and then how much money are you going to allocate per year for the actual benefit to these senior citizens, these silver folks?
I'll defer to the floor leader. Do you?
Okay. I'm sorry, would you repeat the question?
So how much money so we're going to hire 4 people to help older people apply for a program that will help them with their utility bill. How much money is going to be allocated? How much money are we giving to these older people to help them with their utility bill?
Okay, well, they're already qualifying as low income.
So we're already doing this? So we don't need 4 people?
Will the floor leader yield?
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Hey, good to hear from you. You're the bill sponsor.
How are
Hopefully
you?
you can tell us what this program does.
So what this bill does is, originally as drafted, it was a drafting error that they had 1 person in every jurisdiction. That was where the 24 came from, the
Okay.
1.4 million.
Seemed overkill to me too.
It really was overkill. So the amendment then took that back to 4 positions at 211, 1 in the Western Maryland, Eastern Shore, Central Maryland, and Southern Maryland. And they've agreed to this already, 211 Maryland. They're actually already doing some of it through the critical medical needs program that we've done, the pilot program that we've done over the years. If I understand your other question correctly, there aren't any, we're not providing money to the seniors. What the navigators are doing is helping them navigate their way to find whether it's grants or whatnot to help them pay their utility bills and those kinds of things. And these are seniors that are 175% below the poverty line, so it's like $30,000 a year.
So we aren't already doing this?
Yes.
So we created programs to help people, but then we didn't find a way to connect them with the programs that helps them.
I'm not following.
So we created programs, I'm assuming these programs that you're speaking of connecting older folks with, this legislature largely created.
Yeah, we created the pilot program and funded it to the tune of about $80,000 for 2 people.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your answers to the bill. It sounds better than the fiscal note.
Thank you.
Are there
Maybe I turn it off.
Hello.
Hello?
Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1238, places of public accommodation, motion picture houses, captioning. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical and adds sponsors to the bill. Amendment number 2 alters the number of times the motion picture house must show certain movies per week. Please move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1285, Maryland Electricians Act, revisions. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing
Madam
the floor leader.
Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 removes the exemption to maintain insurance for a licensed employee by an individual who maintains insurance coverage and requires an applicant for a local permit to hold a state license and show proof of insurance. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Economic Matters, report number 19. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 611, procurement, prevailing wage, applicability. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill
Madam
is
Speaker.
ordered. Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate it. Would it be possible, the floor leader wants to thank you, my friend from Prince George's County. I just saw this bill. I did have a couple of questions. I know that it's sort of an expansion of some things that we've done. Would it be possible to have the courtesy to special order the bill until tomorrow?
Till tomorrow.
Until tomorrow.
No problem.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Question for the House is to special order HB 611 until the appropriate time tomorrow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The bill has been special ordered. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 622, electricity offshore wind renewable energy credits. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Move so much to be considered a reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 replaces the original language on the electric companies being payment agents with a shift of the OREX obligations to the electric companies and make conforming changes. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. Question now to adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 696, public utilities, electric school bus pilot program. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Floor leader.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors. Amendment number 2 alters the reporting date. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered, printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1115, Baltimore City, 46th District, alcoholic beverages licenses. Favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
As amended, House Bill 1115 alters various provisions related to a public market license in Baltimore City. The bill also authorizes the board to waive the general distance restrictions for an application to transfer an alcoholic beverages license. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 alters certain square footage requirements for public market licenses. Amendment number 3 prohibits the board from charging a holder of a certain license and fee under certain circumstances. And finally, it makes the bill an emergency bill. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill as to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 178, Public Health Cottage Food Businesses Annual Revenues. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Madam Speaker, the board shows something different.
House Bill 178, Public Health Cottage Food Businesses Annual Revenues. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As amended, House Bill 178 increases the maximum annual revenues from the sale of cottage food products that a cottage food business may have from $25,000 to $50,000. Amendment number 1 adds sponsors. Amendment number 2 reduces the cap on revenues from $100,000 to $50,000. Move the amendments, Madam Speaker.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 609, Local Health Officers Removal Grounds and Process. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
House Bill 609 as amended repeals the provision that specifies that the health officer for a county serves at the pleasure of the governing body of that county and the Secretary of Health, and instead enumerates specified reasons for which a health officer may be removed from office with the concurrence of the governing body of the appropriate county and the Secretary. The bill requires the Secretary to provide written notification of removal to a health officer as specified, and authorizes a health officer to appeal a removal decision to the Secretary and the Office of Administrative Hearing. Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 clarifies for purposes of the state personnel and pension article that a local health officer does not serve at the pleasure of their appointing authority. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Recognizing the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had an opportunity to speak with the committee vice chair earlier. We tried to move this along, try to have a couple of amendments drafted this afternoon. There's a technical problem with one of the amendments. I spoke with you earlier, and I hope that you would consent to allow us to special order this for the purpose of amendment only until tomorrow's session.
That is fine, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the
The
courtesy.
question for the House is the special order HB 609 to the appropriate time tomorrow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The bill has been special ordered. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 625, Commission to Study the Healthcare Workforce Crisis in Maryland Establishment. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment adds the Secretary of Labor, Deputy Secretary of Behavioral Health, and the Executive Director of the Maryland Longitudinal Data System Center to the Commission, requires the Commission establish advisory committees or stakeholder work groups, and specifies the membership of the advisory committees and stakeholder work groups, adds to the list of settings for which the Commission will determine if there is a shortage, requires the Commission to specifically study wage increases as a strategy to reduce turnover, requires the Commission to consult with the Department of Veterans Affairs to examine methods for improving transition from the military to civilian life, and requires the Commission study barriers for licensure for foreign board health professionals. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 911, Health Occupations, Psychologist, Doctoral Degrees. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 specifies the clinical experience that must be completed in addition to receiving a doctoral degree from an accredited school or university and receiving a postdoctoral respecialization certificate from an accredited Department of Psychology. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 912, Health Insurance Provider Panels, Coverage for Non-Participation. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 clarifies the notice requirement that requires carriers to inform members of procedures for requesting a referral to a non-participating provider. Clarifies that the coverage requirement applies when a member requests a referral and strikes language requiring MHCC to establish a reimbursement formula for non-participating providers. Amendment number 3 requires health occupation boards that regulate mental health and substance abuse disorder providers to report to Finance and HGO on progress the boards have made to develop a process for providing information on mental health and substance abuse disorder services to carriers for the purpose of carriers reaching out to the providers regarding participation in their provider panels, and adds a 3-year sunset. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1034, State Board of Examiners of Nursing Home Administrators, renaming and licensure of assisted living managers. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 requires the OHCQ to notify the board if an assisted living program is appointed as a residence representative payee, requires assisted living managers employed by an assisted living program that is licensed with 4 or fewer beds to take a specified manager and training course by September 2024, alters the composition of the board. Amendment number 3 authorizes an alternate assisted living manager to act as interim assisted living manager under certain circumstances. Amendment number 4 applies the current exemption for the assisted living manager training course requirement to certain licensure applicants, grandfathers individuals who have been employed as an assisted living manager at a facility with 5 or more beds as of September 2022, and strikes inconsistent education and training requirements. Amendment number 5 lowers penalties and establishes a civil penalty for practicing as an assisted living manager without a license, except that an individual in violation of the licensure provisions before September 2025 will receive a written notice of the violation and 60 days to comply with the licensure requirement. Amendment number 6 alters board member terms and establishes a reporting requirement. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Recognize the gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Brief question. This is a new licensing framework for assisted living managers. Am I correct in reading that properly?
I heard you, except for you mumbled at the end. It's new, is that what you're saying?
It's a new licensing framework for assisted living managers.
It is a new licensing framework, although we are codifying regulations that were put in 2006 that applies to most of these assisted livings.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1208, Health Occupations, Healthcare Workforce Expansion. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors and makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 strikes language regarding clinical extern certificates, strikes language requiring the board to create and implement a marketing plan and related to the website. Amendment number 3 requires the board to adopt regulations establishing standards for online nursing assistant training program and requires the board approve the use of a nursing assistant training sites within 14 days after the program requests approval if the program has been previously approved by the board. Amendment number 4 clarifies certain qualification requirements for certification applied to certification as geriatric nursing assistant, clarifies provisions allow an individual to apply on-the-job experience towards training hours for certification, applying applicants practicing as temporary nursing assistants only, specifies the preceptorship income tax credit applies to advanced practice registered nurses rather than nurse practitioners, and requires the stakeholder work group to make recommendations on nomenclature to describe healthcare apprenticeship programs. Amendment number 5 requires the Department of Health to establish a work group to examine how the state can implement a loan repayment assistance program for nurses and other practitioners licensed by the Board of Nursing to incentivize practice in professional shortage areas and medically underserved areas of the state, and makes technical changes to the implementation and termination provisions. Move the amendments.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 21. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 585, Baltimore County Orphans Court Judges and Surviving Spouses Pensions, favorable.
The question before the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1049, Maryland Trust Act, Trustee Liability, released by interested parties, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 22. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 965, Civil Actions, Tortuous Injury or Death of Pet, Compensatory Damages, Buddy's Law, favor of the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment changes the amount that the bill changes the cap for compensatory damages. In the bill, it was $25,000. The amendment changes it to $15,000. Currently, it is $10,000. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Ways and Means, report number 11. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 1010, Motor Fuel Taxes, Tax-Free Period, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to clarify for the body, this is the Senate version of the House bill that we passed out earlier today. It is in the exact same format as the House bill. I also want to state for the record that it is the intent of the General Assembly that qualifying retailer be interpreted to mean any person possessing tax-paid qualifying fuels for sale on the effective date of this act, so that it applies to every holder of tax-paid fuel in the supply chain. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Special order calendar number 41. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 107, cooperative housing corporations, condominiums, and homeowners associations, reserve studies statewide. Favor report is amended, adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I spoke with the floor leader, and my questions have been answered.
Question for the House is are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar number 42. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 176, courts, service of process, fees collected by sheriff. Favor report is amended, adopted.
Recognizing the maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of time to look at this bill. It looks like a good bill, and I'll be voting green. Thank you.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar number 43. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 559, probation before judgment, probation agreements, probation not deportation. Favor report is amended, adopted.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just had a few more questions because I did read the bill in depth and do some research. If the floor leader could yield before I offer the amendment.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, and happy St. Patty's Day. Two main questions here. This bill, from what I gather, seeks to create a special probationary status. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. This bill creates a new variation in order to enter probation before judgment.
Great, great, great. So can a regular citizen opt in? Because from what I read in the bill, it's specifically aimed at folks that have non-legal status. So can an everyday citizen opt into this plea?
Everyone, any Marylander can opt in to do this form of a probation before judgment statute. And as I mentioned when the bill was first up, for those that have federal employment as well, it could be a favorable option for them to use for misdemeanor offenses.
So this will create a new sort of overarching status for probationary before judgment?
Yes, Delegate. Anything that we pass in criminal law here in the state of Maryland applies to all Marylanders.
Great, great. And then the second question I have is that does the person that's being accused of the crime, do they have to disclose to the state's attorney? Because it talks about conversations that the state's attorney would have with the person and elect and say affirmatively, hey, I just want to let you know that I'm in a legal immigrant status.
So I think that every time you have a client and you're litigating any case, there's many facts that you, as a defense attorney and a prosecutor, talk about when they're entering a plea agreement, like prior acts, criminal history, things they've done. Maybe they're taking classes, maybe it's like an alcohol offense. So there are many factors that you give a state's attorney when you're getting into a plea agreement to get to that plea. The bill does not in any way codify information that you have to let the state's attorney know, but any defense attorney and many that are on this floor, you would be giving information that's favorable in your discussion so you both can get to a place on a plea agreement.
Yeah, so my concern there, and I'll try to phrase this in the shape of a question, is that the reason that any defendant is going to opt for probationary status, obviously you don't want to get convicted, you want to try to make yourself right, but in doing so, one of the compelling facts is, oh, by the way, I'm an illegal citizen. And one of the reasons that I would like to get this probationary status is because if I do get convicted, that's going to put me, obviously I'll be convicted of the crime, but also now I'm on the radar of the federal. So
right,
why would someone be, we're compelling them to implicate themselves in favor of trying to get the probationary status?
Thank you, Delegate. Well, when it comes to the information for someone who is either undocumented or has a legal status in Maryland, and they're communicating with the state's attorney in order to get a plea agreement, you would be having that conversation attorney to attorney. And like I said, there are many individuals that would seek this type of a probation before judgment. Like I said, U.S. citizens who have a federal job. Many people are here visiting professor or someone here on a visa or a green card, because that could affect them later on, and someone undocumented. Anyone could enter into this plea agreement. I also would add that it doesn't take away from our current probation before judgment statute, because let's say you were found guilty by a judge, and then you wanted to do a motion for reconsideration about your sentencing. You would still need the original PBJ statute because there was a guilty finding. In addition to that, any probation before judgment that is given at the courtesy of the judge in question, right? So when you enter a plea agreement, there's a sense that the judge is going to actually give that to you. It's not something that's guaranteed. It's something that's authorized through the judge overseeing the case.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. And I do support the spirit of, trying to make better, get on probation, get your life straightened out, and not get convicted in the future. However, I do have an amendment at the desk, but thank you for answering those questions. The amendment moves so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment number is 373528-1.
Amendment number 1.
Great. And, based on the testimony there, I do appreciate the merits of the bill. However, I do have some concerns, and I did email this amendment to the floor leader, which she received. So I'll just outline what this amendment does. It basically says that, yes, we want probation, we want folks to get straight. However, there are a couple of crimes that we don't want this to be offered for. And you might make the argument, well, you're never going to be awarded probation for the crimes that I'm about to list. But as we've seen many times, if it can happen in the court system, sometimes it does. So this creates 5 categories of crimes that you couldn't use this for. The first one is a crime of violence. Second is rape in the first degree. Third is rape in the second degree. Fourth is sexual offense in the third degree. And then fifth is possession of CDS with intent to distribute or dispense. Very straightforward amendment. And as I said earlier, yeah, these are crimes that you're probably not going to get probation for. However, there's nothing wrong with putting that in statute. And with that, I'd like to press the amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I would like the body to resist this amendment. And I ask you to resist this. In Criminal Procedure 6-220 already outlines what a probation before judgment can be used for. And the crimes that you listed, many of them are prohibited. You cannot, right now, in 6-220 Criminal Procedure Article, offer a probation before judgment for any of those, as well for the ones that you listed for CDS and crimes of violence on second offenses. The probation before judgment that is in the legislation that is offered here today on the floor has all the same guardrails and conditions as our regular probation before judgment statute. And I'd ask the delegate to refer to 6-220 in the Criminal Procedure Code, and I would ask you to resist this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment gives the states the inherent police powers to protect public health and safety. And I take the good delegate at her words, but once again, it concerns me that we pass these things and somehow it gets misinterpreted when it gets to the next level. And some of these crimes that the good delegate from Cecil County mentioned are crimes that people don't ever rehab from. First-degree rape, second-degree rape, they're heinous. They're life-changing. They will destroy somebody's life. I'm not a lawyer, but once again, a common sense amendment like this that just serves to protect our citizens that we've all raised our hands and took an oath to protect will do nothing negative, but can only do positive if we pass it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special Order Calendar Number 44. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 836, Public Schools Student Athletics Requirements and Reports.
The maker of the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question has been answered on this bill. I do not have an amendment, but I believe another one of my colleagues does.
Speaker.
Thank you.
Recognizing gentlelady from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment at the desk. Amendment number 203-223/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
First, I'd like to state that I think this is a good bill, as amended. It does a lot of good things to make sure we protect our student athletes in our public schools. But one thing that I was disappointed that's been missing, and it's been missing from the conversation this year, that I wish we had taken up in our Women's Caucus, but is to make sure that our women athletes have fair competition on a level playing field. This particular amendment would prevent athletes from competing in categories different from their biological sex, targeted to grades 9 to 12 varsity sports. And why do I say this? As we all know, the women, those of us who've been athletes over the years, the Title IX finally gave us a level playing field for women athletes, finally. We had to have the same number of teams, the same money spent, and it took years to get to that point. I was an athlete in the 70s when this was just starting, and we didn't have equal for women. But over the years, that has changed. It changed for my children. They've had phenomenal opportunities for them in high school and in college. But this bill is targeted to grades 9 to 12 varsity sports. My concern is that they're going to lose those opportunities just to an unlevel playing field. I think some of us will agree that transgender female athletes have natural physical advantages over biological females. It's just the DNA, for the most part, I'm not going to say men are better, but their DNA for some things makes them more superior athletes in many ways. We need to protect women's sports. This amendment is designed to protect female athletic opportunities by ensuring that only biological females are eligible to compete in grades 9 to 12 school sports. Ever since Congress enacted Title IX 50 years ago, there's been an unprecedented athletic opportunity and achievement for women and girls that include scholarships, Olympic medals, and the many physical and emotional benefits of participating in sports. In the name of inclusion, males and transgender girls, women who were born male, are participating now in women's sports. It is complicated and confusing, and female athletes have fought too long and too hard for equal athletic opportunities to let that happen. The average male, as I said, is bigger, faster, and stronger, not necessarily smarter, than the average female. Recently, at the Ivy League Women's Swimming and Diving Championship held at Harvard University, Leah Thomas, born a male but now transgender woman, is a senior who's competing in her first year for the women's team. The last 3 seasons has competed on the men's team. This past couple weekends ago, she won 3 events and set 5 records in the girls' competition. 3 women who would have won gold were given second place, and other women were displaced further down the line. In Connecticut, 2 high school transgender girls came in first and second, setting the record in track, displacing girls. This male-female athletic differential is almost entirely the result of biology. In head-to-head competitions, allowing even 1 or 2 male-bodied athletes to compete in the women's division can severely limit the chances of success for women athletes. The inclusion of trans girls should not come at the cost of discriminating against a biological female at birth woman. Please stand up for women and girls. We're finally being recognized for the athletic accomplishments that we deserve. Women just want a level playing field. So please support this. We have an opportunity as women to just say, hey, at this particular juncture, we want to compete on a level playing field. I urge you to support this amendment on behalf of girls and women. Thank you.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I got a question for the maker of the amendment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This amendment looks awfully familiar. Is this a current bill in the House, in the General Assembly?
So I don't serve on your committee.
I don't believe there's a bill.
It is a bill. It's House Bill 757. You mentioned earlier that this bill, we didn't have a conversation about this bill. Do you know the status of that bill?
I don't know what bill you're talking about. This is a bill that's targeted to grades 9 to 12 varsity sports. Did you have a bill like that?
We have a bill similar to this that the Ways and Means Committee took up in the committee, and it was voted unfavorably. And for those reasons, Madam Speaker, I ask that the body resist this amendment.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to say one more thing. That's great. This is not the same bill. This is high school sports. And very often we say, oh, there's a bill in the committee and it was voted unfavorably. And guess what? Every one of us comes down here to represent our constituents. And just because a committee votes something down doesn't mean we should not be on the record of supporting our constituents. I've not had an opportunity to vote on this, and this is really important to the young girls at my high schools. So I would like a chance for us all to be on the record for high school varsity sports only. We come down here to take votes. I'm not going to go home and say, oh, I didn't get to vote on it because it wasn't in my committee. No one back home understands that. We have a chance right now to do what's right for our girls in high school. So I urge us to take this up. No excuses. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just encourage the body to pass this common sense amendment to this bill that talks about high school sports. It's totally appropriate with this bill. I've got 2 daughters, and I want them to be able to compete on an even playing field. One of my daughters actually plays basketball in college right now. The other one was swimming right up until last year. She's a senior now. They've joked before about men, as they're in high school, that they get free muscle. And we all know that. That's true. The men get free muscle, and that's what helps them to become faster at swimming. I've coached swimming for 20 years as well in the summer. And I would just encourage, let's just do this. This makes sense. Let's create that level playing field that we need so that everybody can have fair competition. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Lay from Harvard.
Thank you. I stand in rise of the amendment as well. You know, I come from the older generation. I remember as a child, I can remember the 60s, you know, when women's lib came up and so forth. And, you know, they're fighting for women's rights. And what I'm seeing happening now with allowing transgender, mainly the transgender females that are going to be born as a male going to be a female, is the one that's really in question because, you know, we don't even hear any kind of stories or any articles or anything about, you know, the opposite way because there's science here. Once females, by birth, once you're a female or a male, you go through puberty. And, you know, those hormone levels change as the teenagers go through that. And science shows that the males that go through, females and males that go through puberty, the males can run faster. They have muscle mass. They can do everything better than the female gender, born as a female. So allowing these, you know, these females or these males going in competition with female sports, and we're talking about high school. We're not talking about college, you know, any other things, but high school, you're literally taking the records away from our women. I mean, I don't understand why Women's Lib is not standing up, you know, furious about this. Because we have so many women that have fought and have trained all their lives as children and going through high school and want scholarships to go to college, and they're being stripped of their scholarships. They're being stripped of all the, you know, the awards that they've won. So I do stand and rise, and I press this amendment and stand fully in support of it because of the science. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the maker of the amendment. She said in the beginning that this was a really important bill because it's going to save the lives of so many young people on our athletic fields, and I agree with that because that's exactly what this bill aims to do. The amendment before us, let me make it very clear, we had a very similar bill in the Ways and Means Committee. It had a public hearing. Both people spoke on both sides of the bill, and it had a voting session. And unfortunately, it was voted unfavorably. And for those reasons, Madam Speaker, I ask that we resist this amendment. Thank you.
Okay. Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to press my amendment. This is not the same bill you voted on. This targets varsity sports
in grades 9 to 12. It is not all-inclusive anywhere past that. High school girls, give them a chance. This is an election year. These are important issues, and this is just starting up where the men are, the transgender women are replacing our women athletes or outperforming them, and I don't think it's fair. I'm not going to go home and tell my folks that, hey, I didn't have a chance to vote on this because it got killed in a committee, it was a different bill, and somebody told me I couldn't vote on the floor. We are here to vote, every single one of us. If you don't like it, vote no. If you like it, vote yes. And then explain your vote to your constituents who elected you to come down here as a body and make decisions. I am very proud of my vote. I'm not running for re-election, so I'm very proud of my vote, and those of you who are, go explain that to your women that you did not stand up for giving them equal opportunity. I press my amendment. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I urge the body to strongly reject this amendment. This bill, named for a young man who we lost in Baltimore this year, is all about saving lives. It's about making sure that our student athletes are safe. And so it's incredibly ironic that this amendment is being offered because if accepted, this amendment would actually imperil the lives of many transgender youth who are bullied and who have high rates of suicidality and depend on sports to build relationships and stay healthy. I mean, cisgender athletes, and I'm speaking as a former high school and college athlete here, cisgender women athletes, we have nothing to fear from transgender athletes. This is a total red herring. This bill is about AEDs. It is about cold water immersion. It is about making sure that the coaches who are coaching our kids have a plan in case the unthinkable happens on the football field or in the basketball court, right? That's what this bill is about. This amendment has nothing to do with keeping kids safe. So please reject this amendment. Thank you.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker. To explain my vote.
Gentleman from Prince George.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to explain my vote for the following reason. Many of y'all know that I'm in the field of sports commentating. And the reason I'm voting no on this is because this is a longer conversation that needs to be had. This is something that's growing across the country for better or for worse, however you feel about it. And I don't think the appropriate place is to tag it onto a bill when it's inappropriate. I do think that you all in the future, I won't be here with you all next year, but you all should study this, possibly work group it, because it's growing. And I understand both sides of it, and you can't be in the dark. I'm a father of 2 daughters. I know the importance of Title IX. I know what it would be like if my daughter did not receive a lacrosse scholarship because of what we thought something that wasn't fair. Not saying whether it's right or whether it's wrong, but I'm explaining my vote because many of y'all asked me about it, to say that you need to take this up, study it, but to tag it onto a bill that, as my colleague from Baltimore City said, does a lot of good right now. We should do that, and that's why I'm voting against this amendment.
Madam Speaker.
To explain your vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think this is our time right here, right now, to protect women in sports, to protect their scholarships that they might be able to get. You know, one of the good speakers from Baltimore talked about there's nothing to fear. Well, yeah, there's nothing to fear except losing, and losing a scholarship that you're never going to get because a man took it away from you. This is our chance right now. Let's not wait for a study. We're not going to do a study. Let's not kid ourselves. This is our chance, and this is what people are going to see. Did you vote to support women or not? Please throw a green up there. Thank you.
Clerk will take the call. Amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you. I just had a quick question for the floor leader.
Yes.
Sorry, it's been a long day. I just kind of got a chance to look at it. I guess my question is, why not the consideration for like athletic trainers to be the ones responsible than coaches for, and I know some of these things are great ideas for safety of the student athletes, but I mean, my concern, I guess, is, I mean, I've coached in high school before, And I assume, does this apply to private school also or no?
No, it doesn't. It's all public. It's public schools.
Okay, I'm just, when I was coaching private school, I was an assistant. I'm working full-time job. It was very hard to get there, and I assume a lot of public school coaches also have very busy lives, so it's hard for them to get there on time a lot of times, because this is high school. They're not getting paid much, if at all. So I guess my concern is turning or mandating that some well-intentioned coaches, opposed to athletic trainers who are experts in this stuff, be responsible, because what happens if a coach learns something and then it comes, God forbid, that moment where he or she has to perform the duty and screws up? Are they liable for it, or how does that work?
Delegate, thank you for your question. Appreciate it. If you can just pull your mic a little closer, I can
sorry
hear you a
about
little
that.
better. It's all good.
Yep.
The Maryland Athletic Trainers Association actually supports the bill.
Okay, well that makes sense then. Well, I guess there's definitely some good things that I like. I just am concerned about the fact that I think it's a big ask when some people that are the coaches, but are the Athletic Trainers Association already supposed to do some of these things? Or the athletic trainers, I'm saying.
Yeah, you asked about the trainers and the coaches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Trainers Association supports it, and there were multiple coaches on the call on the committee hearing that supported it as well.
Okay. Well, I like some of the things in it. I just am concerned that somebody that is a part-time coach is going to find it very difficult at times to learn some of these different things. And but I like the intention. Thank you, and thanks for answering.
I appreciate it.
I honestly didn't know.
This is a step in the right direction in protecting our students and having our coaches and trainers trained on keeping our students safe well in the athletic field. And so I think this is a great bill, Delegate.
Thanks for your answers.
Yep.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker?
Clerk will take the call. There being 132 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 51. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 232, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages, Class B Beer, Wine, and Liquor Clubhouse Lodge License, Manufacturer's Licenses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 232, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 242, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages, Consumption Only Marketplace Licenses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 242, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 280, Washington County Alcoholic Beverages, Class CT License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 280, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 465, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Resort Complex License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 465, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 493, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Service Under Stadium License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 493, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 520, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Stadium License Annual Fee.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 520, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1181, Wacomico County Alcoholic Beverages Class B-BF Banquet Facility License.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1181, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 52. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 233, Montgomery County Alcoholic Beverages Class 7 Microbrewery License and Licenses in the Town of Kensington.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 233, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 241, Montgomery County Damascus Alcoholic Beverages Class B Beer, Wine, and Liquor License Referendum.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 241, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 357, Prince George's County Alcoholic Beverages Sunday Off-Sale Permits.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 357, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 359, Prince George's County Alcoholic Beverages Transfer of Class A Beer, Wine, and Liquor License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 359, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 840, Howard County Alcoholic Beverages Act of 2022.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 840, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1308, Howard County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses Notifications.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1308, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 53. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 460, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Transfers.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 460, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 464, Baltimore City 41st Legislative District Alcoholic Beverages Marketplace License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 464, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 856, Washington County Alcoholic Beverages University and College Hospitality Beer, Wine, and Liquor License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 856, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1106, Washington County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Wine.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1106, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1117, Washington County Alcoholic Beverages Class B and D Licenses, Sidewalk Cafe Patio Permit.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1117, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1210, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Transfer.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1210, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 54. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 555, Queen Anne's County Alcoholic Beverages License Applications.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 555, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 671, Somerset County Alcoholic Beverages Abolishment of Liquor Control Board and Dispensary System.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 671, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1118, Garrett County Alcoholic Beverages Act of 2022.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1118, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1180, Wacomico County Alcoholic Beverages Dinner Theater License.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1180, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1221, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages 40th Alcoholic Beverages District.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1221, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1234, Frederick County Alcoholic Beverages Act of 2022.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1234, having received constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
I have a
Gentlemen.
vote change, please. HB 1117 from red to green, please.
Okay. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 3. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 641, Carroll County County Commissioner Districts Redistricting Plan.
Senate Bill 641 is on third reading and final passage. I can wait. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 641, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. That ends the work at the desk. Could have done a little sooner. You would get quiet. Committee announcements? None? No committee announcements? Any caucus announcements?
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to see my leadership group at 6:45. 6:45.
Any of the committees meeting with anyone today? Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for a voting session.
And nothing for Economic Matters or Environment and Transportation. Okay. Any other announcements? And quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker,
Clerk will take the call. There being 129 members present, House is still in session. Please be safe this evening, please. You gotta come back here tomorrow. Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Happy Purim, happy Holy. Happy St. Patty's Day, everyone. I move that the House stand adjourned until Friday, March 18th at 10 a.m., Legislative Day, March 11th.